welcome. Today I have a pair of art tags. They start out, well, at least the first one starts out with some Bristol Smooth paper, and I start layering on some Distress ink. This is Stormy Sky. And I think that's the lightest color that I'll use. You'll see the difference in the two tags. One is a little more involved. This first one's a little more involved. And the second one is an much easier one, in my opinion. But, and sometimes I think you need that. You need to have easy options and more difficult options, maybe because of your time that you have, or materials, whatever it is. Sometimes you need options. So I think that was, I wasn't watching, but I think that was Uncharted Mariner or Blue Jean. Maybe it was Blue Jean. Yeah, I think it was Blue Jean. It's not dark enough to be Uncharted Mariner. And then here is some walnut stain going through a Tim Holtz stencil. And at first I was just going to do portions of it. And then I decided just to cover the whole thing. And if you're checking it, just keep your fingers on the bottom if you are going to put it back down. Although it's not hard to line it up. And see there, it's like I thought about doing it, and then I just decided I think it needs to be fully covered. And that's kind of the way with art. You may have a thought and just visually it doesn't work for you. And now I'm putting some walnut stain around the edges. And I'm going to add some splatter with the nozzle of speckled egg oxide spray. And I did shake that up. You kind of want to make sure, even when you're doing that kind of thing with the nozzle, you want to make sure it was shaken up. Now, I didn't get it on camera, but I took my ticket booth stickers and just kind of went around the edges just for a little pattern. But you can use whatever stamps you have, and I just wanted a little detail around the edges, and I did it with black StazOn ink. And I'm going to be layering some collage, and I wanted them to have some definition between the two. Sometimes you can layer, but it still looks pretty flat if you don't have something giving a different level. So I'm going to be using some scraps of this paper, and I'm also going to be stamping a couple tickets that I used in the border, and I'm going to be using those as pieces of my collage. And that one didn't stamp so well, so I often, if it doesn't stamp really well, I do have a stamping platform, but it's got to be pretty good focal image for me to drag it out. So I just flipped it over and got a good contact on the back side. That way I'm not wasting anything and I've got a good looking stamp. Honestly, it probably wouldn't have mattered because I am collaging, and that corner I think might have been covered. But I'm going to cover them with some oxide or some Distress ink. One of them is going to get peeled paint oxide. And the other one, it might be blue jean. Faded jeans, I mean. I was looking at him like, that's not blue jean. Faded jeans. That's probably what I said before, too. It's not blue jean, it's faded jeans. And then I trim them to size. And I'll add some vintage photo around the edges. And actually, I think on the blue one, I'll rip it like it's a used ticket. And it's going to be a long, narrow collage, basically on the left-hand side. And so I want to see a lot of the background. So I'm just gathering some stuff that I want to maybe collage on top. And before I do that, I want to, the walnut stain wasn't quite dark enough because there's walnut stain in the piece, so I opted to go to my darkest brown, which is scorched timber. Another thing I'm going to be using is a piece, well, I can't actually say it's a piece of a paper strip, but if I have, this is a piece of Tim Holtz paper. It's 12 by 12 paper. And so when I have a long strip of it left, I'll just drop it into my paper strips. Because it kind of looks like a paper strip, but in this case, it's just a little fatter than any of the paper strips. And I'm going to use that as my base to put all my collage things on and around. And like I said, I don't want it flat, so I'm just taking scraps. Whenever I have like scraps of any of my mixed media, really, paper, I dump it in a scrap folder. And so I just pulled that out and I'm just starting to collect some scraps. As I was getting ready to do that, I realized, oh, maybe I should splatter before I start collaging. And I mainly do it right around the edge. And I give it a dry. So I have some long strips and it's a pretty thick watercolor paper. Well, it's not a thin watercolor paper. And so I'm just using it. It's not thick enough to me to do one piece. So I layered 2 scraps. And that's going to be my main layering piece. Now I'm going to take this, both of the tickets. The blue one will go on top, and the green one I'm going to cut in half and slide it underneath that fat strip. And now this is a paper strip, and that's going to go on it. And each piece I'm adding almost, well, with the exception of maybe 2, don't get the layers behind it. That piece there is a digital download, and it fits perfectly into my, what is that, a 1-inch punch probably. That piece is also a digital print. Did grab a couple number tags on the side there, but I don't end up using those. So I'm layering up my tag so that it's not flat. I think I only put 1 on that one so it would slide under the number strip, because the number strip has 2. And I'm layering up another piece. And because this one is pretty wide, I just slice it down the middle, and I just want it poking out from the back. I do sometimes like to just throw in a piece of a different color. Now, it wouldn't be anything that didn't go with the blues, but just to kind of be something that draws your eyes is, what's that? And so I'm putting my punched circle there, and I did not layer that. It's just going to slide right underneath the tag, the ticket. And it kind of helps with the dimensional look. And I had this little finger pointy hand that I just stuck on top of it. And a butterfly is going to go in the open area of the label there. And I'm going to add a sentiment. I am going to stick the sentiment onto a piece of cardstock so it kind of has a little border, because it's going to stick out across an open area. So it's going to be higher up in some places. It says take risks. I'm going to add a ribbon, a couple pieces of ribbon, and I'll use my browns and blues. And spraying a little water and just kind of scrunch them around. And dry it. It dries really quick. And because my tags don't have the protector around the hole, I'm pretty careful as I lightly tug the ribbon. And some of it seemed a little too long, so I just cut it off. Now, I hadn't really planned on doing two, but as I did that, I really liked the look of it. But then I thought, well, what if I took some of the Tim Holtz paper that I liked, that has an interesting background and is more neutral, and did the same exact thing and put it on a background that I really didn't have to do anything with. So this is going to go much quicker. I'm doing the exact same pieces that's going to go on it. So that's kind of nice. You could pre-make a bunch of layers there and have them all ready for it to go on some piece at a future date. So you could have those all ready. But it is a lot simpler once you have the model. Once you have the plan, then it was much easier for me to create the second one because I already knew exactly what was going to go on it. and say they're exactly the same, but I use a different sentiment and I use a different butterfly. I keep my tiny little butterflies in this little container because they would get lost in my butterfly bin. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to look for a sentiment. In this one, I'm using Be Fearless. This kind of goes with the other one. Take risks. Be fearless. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to fix it to a piece of cardstock and then trim the cardstock. It's just going to hang over the open area. Now this one wasn't cut on my Cricut, so I'm punching a hole. I did glue the paper, the Tim Holtz paper, to a regular piece of cardstock, just a scrap, and so it is stiffer than just paper. And I'm just going to darken that hole just a bit. And I'm going to do a ribbon for it as well. And it looks like I'm doing yeah, pink. I think that's probably kitsch flamingo. And vintage photo or walnut stain. Vintage photo. Adding some water and just smoosh them around. I just make sure I get up most of the ink. Unless I put too much down, then I won't worry about it, but and give it a dry, keeping it kind of smushed together. And do the same thing and bring it through the loop. And that's it. I have some final pictures coming up. And if you have not subscribed yet, I invite you to do that just to kind of join me on my art journey. And if you liked this piece, give me a thumbs up. I'd appreciate it. And either way, I just hope you have an awesome day. And as I said, there's some final pictures coming up, so stay tuned for that.